start from the two on the front row. Niall Bradley on the inside line. Of course, it's a good start from Ollie Neves from row 3 of the grid, taking advantage of the gap where Jazz Sapra wasn't. So he might get his way up into 3rd position. Yes, he does, at the expense of Paul Cook. Brian Branson, in fact, a little bit surprisingly, has dropped back down to 5th position. But it's Niall Bradley leading from Graham Crowhurst in 2nd place, Ollie Neves in 3rd as they head through the hairpin at Wilson for the first time. There you can see some of the 325 Ti compacts in the Cup class going through shot towards the back of the field. But the leaders now on their way down and through Palmer for the first time. There you could see it was still Ollie Neves in 3rd place ahead of Paul Cook. Some good battles going on within the classes as well, which will bring you up to date on as this race progresses.
Yeah, but it is Bradley then that leads, the 21 M1 champion. He's out over the curbs. He's a lot quicker than the other tin tops we've had racing this weekend, so they're a bit more spectacular on the road on colder tyres as they are at the moment. Lots of power to be put down as the race goes on. We'll probably get into lap traffic as well, because there's a big broad range of cars in those various classes. But the 5 M3s out front going away from Mark Burton, who's there in 6th position, the former low-cost champion. And one's off the road. That's one of the Cup cars as Jazz Sapra starts from the pit lane. William Lake is that's had an off-track moment. Will Lake, who is leading the Cup class championship coming into the weekend after, I think, 4 victories, but he's had an off early on again.
Only by 2 points as well from that man, Gareth Thomas, in the number 68 car, which is just making up a place as the cars head down the Bentley Straight for the first time. So Gareth Thomas here with a good chance of taking over the lead within the Cup class, it would seem. There you can see the number 48 car going through. That is Mike Nash. We saw him out in action yesterday in the Armed Forces Race Challenge event as well. So good chance for some drivers to have plenty of competition during the course of this 750 Motor Club weekend. Already the leaders are over the line as the back markers are just heading through the bomb hole. Such is the performance of Niall Bradley and Graham Crowhurst, who are separated by 0.4 of a second at the end of lap 1 there, about 1.6 seconds ahead of Ollie Neves in 3rd. Paul Cook is in 4th, Brian Branson 5th in the invitation class car, and Mark Burton, the ex-low-cost champion, leading Class M2 in 6th place.
Yeah, that's right. The class structure's slightly been altered, hasn't it, for this season? So those 330s now fit into M2, which Mark Burton leads, as you say, there over Paul Travers and Kevin Granger. So where is the championship leader, Stephen Schreikart, Class 6 man? He does lead that class, doesn't he? And 13th overall by the looks of things early on in the race, who was a Class 6 competitor last year as well. There's a top 5 then, up towards Hamilton. All the M3s all in shot, and as I say, they are pretty spectacular. There's Neves then, the multiple BC V8 champion from the MG Car Club. Probably do similar sort of lap times, but in very different ways, with lots more power than these BMWs. So a very different car to drive. Paul Cook there just behind, who we just saw the MR2s. He raced in that championship for so many seasons. Now racing this M3, and I think enjoying having the additional power. Meanwhile, there is Gareth Thomas then, so he continues to run a bit further back in the package, in 20th spot, I think, in the early stages of the race.
But he's leading his class, importantly, as well, in the Cup class, so he's picking up maximum points as far as that's concerned. He's ahead of Paul Neville and William Lake. Just ahead of him there is 79, Sergei Maniv, and his slightly upgraded 325 Ti, so rather than the Cup class specification of car, he's got a rear wing on the back of his machine, so that fits into Class 6. But Gareth Thomas is able to battle with him for something like 18th position as they head down the Bentley Straight, and already across the line, almost half a lap ahead, are the leaders. So he said that lap traffic will come into it, not just yet, but it will do soon. The lead gap now 0.8 of a second between Niall Bradley and Graham Crowhurst, with Ollie Neves, Paul Cook and Brian Branson a couple of seconds back now. Meanwhile, this battle just at the back of the top 20 makes its way through, also involving Paul Neville, I think, at the back of this group, and he's in a Cup car, so he will be trying to get himself up on terms with Gareth Thomas as they make their way through. Gareth Thomas, who was last year's Cup champion as well. Number 60 involved in a battle here, I think. That's Mark Sullivan, 6-cylinder upgraded 325 Ti, battling with Paul Laramie's 3-litre compact. Yeah, Paul Laramie, the man from Chesham, head of programme management. Started racing 5 years ago and has sort of developed himself within the BMW Car Club Racing Championship, progressing from the Cup class up into the main class ranks as well. There is the 76 car going through ahead of him, which is Stuart Pywell in 16th place in his Class M1 car. There is Sergei Meniv again in number 79, the blue and orange car with the wing on its back. Look how the window has just popped out there on the passenger side of the car as well, so that's not going to be helping his aerodynamics, I don't think.
So it's a nice little battle here, isn't it? Further back in the pack. And it's Cole McMillan, I think, at the front of it, who was the 2021 Cup Class champion, and using this formula to upgrade his car to Class 6 specification. There's number 5, David Heasman, who we believe is in Class M1, but is much further down the order than where traditionally we'll see him. I don't think he's out in his M3 today, like we've seen him race in the past. Race leaders cross the line. The gap between them is around the same, about 8 tenths. So into the 203s now. There's the secondary class leader, Class M2. That's Mark Burton, the low-cost champ from a few seasons ago. They're a different type of racing, this, isn't it, for him compared to low cost. He's out there all by himself. The cars in front are way out in front. He's pulling well clear of the M2 rivals. He's done a 2 minutes 10.1, his fastest lap of the race on that lap. But he's a long way ahead of Paul Travers. But for Mark Burton, it's a lonely old time, but he is leading his class once again, and he has won Class M2 at the last 4 races at Oulton Park and at Croft.
At some venues, he can mix it a little bit more with some of the Class M1 cars as well, but different circuits, probably the M1 cars have a bit more advantage here with some of the straight line speed. That's right. Cavan Granger making a bit of a Horlicks there of the Wilson hairpin, number 37. He's in 8th place, 3rd within Class M2 at the moment. There's the 77 car of Paul Travers, who's 2nd within that class at the moment. I think it might be his first appearance of the season, is it? I don't think he's picked up any points anyway so far this year, certainly within that class. So he's ahead of Granger. Just behind Granger is Mark Coleman, number 66, who's another driver in Class M1. So they're heading down towards the left-hander at Hamilton. A bit further up, we've just seen the 2 leaders flash through, and there in 3rd place is Ollie Neves.
Yeah, he's just ahead of Paul Cook, who just clips the dirt a bit, and then Brian Brantham just behind, but it is Neves, the XMG man, there in 3rd, but he's up 3 seconds behind the leaders now, who are nose to tail. They've just gone through some traffic. We'll see if we can pick up on that now, because Graham Crowhurst, there they are, right together. Crowhurst on the tail for the first time, really, of Noel Bradley. He's been close, but not this close, and they come up across the line. We're sort of into the middle 3rd of the race, a longer race, it's 20 minutes, but Graham Crowhurst challenging Noel Bradley, the Irishman, up towards turn 1. They're side by side for 3rd position as well, because Paul Cook is trying to get the better of Ollie Neves, which I don't think he's quite going to manage. Where do we look? And now for the lead of the race. Crowhurst dives to the inside of Bradley. Can't do it. Behind, Neves has held on, in fact, from Paul Cook. So all of a sudden, the M1 battles have come alive here.
They certainly have. There's a driving standards flag going out to Jazz Sapper, I can see, who's 24th at the moment. He started the race late, of course. 3rd and 4th is the battle that we're looking at the moment. The 444 car of Ollie Neves, the 26 car of Paul Cook. They were dead heating over the line, but Neves it is that's back ahead at the moment. Then you've got the orange car of Brian Branson, number 126 in 5th position, the local driver. Thought we might see a bit more from Brian in this race. I've seen him race strongly at other events this season, including at Castle Combe last month, but he's there in P5 at the moment, behind Neves and Cook, who are turning their way through Oggies once again. Cook very experienced in BMWs as well as MR2s, which he raced for a long time as well. Turns his way back onto the Bentley Straight. These 3 are around about 5 seconds or so behind the 2 leaders, Noel Bradley and Graham Crowhurst, who are back into shot now. Crowhurst in the multicoloured car behind the white and green car of Bradley. And here is the fight for third coming down towards us. Just to stage, by the way, Stephen Schreikard is that's leading Class 6. I don't think we've mentioned him at the moment. And he is, of course, the championship leader as well. So he's going well in Class 6, 12th place overall.
Yeah, you mentioned Brian Branton is at the back of this group in the orange BMW. His car has been repaired in the recent weeks after an incident at the Super Touring meeting at in Fundersloons by Generation Bodyworks, who are based just north of the circuit. So that car's having its first race since the repairs done there, and it's interesting if he is aware that these other drivers are involved in a championship, or if he's going to get stuck in as this race goes on, because as you say, he's been quick. He's races against very different types of cars when he races elsewhere. Also, he races on slick tyres normally, which he won't be today because you can't run on slicks in this championship, as Ollie Neves makes a mistake. So perhaps he's just getting used to that at the moment here.
Yeah, so Neves loses out as a Paul Cook there with that mistake on the Wilson hairpin. Is it going to allow Brian Branson to get through as well, as he has a bit more momentum? I think possibly Branson has missed that opportunity, so he stays fifth for the moment. They're herring their way past the Tyrrell's restaurant down to the left-handed Agostini hairpin. Some good battles going past our commentary box further down the order as well, including that between Paul Travers and Mark Colmer, and Cavan Grange for 7th, 8th and 9th position. But we'll stick with what we've got on screen at the moment. This is for third, Paul Cook in 26, now ahead of Ollie Neves in treble 4. And there's Branson as well. He's not letting these two get away, is he? So he should be there poised to pick up any pieces that there may be. And we are going to get into some more traffic, I think, before very much longer, because there is one of the Cup class cars in the foreground with Niall Bradley bearing down on him, and Niall Bradley now has a much bigger lead over Graham Crowhurst. Yeah,
I wonder if that was in the traffic. There you can see Crowhurst's car with that livery on that we mentioned, the BMW art car livery from a decade more ago. There's Cook, Neves in the traffic. I wonder if that traffic just caught out Graham Crowhurst a corner or two ago. But Cook has gone away from Neves now that he's ahead. So can he do anything about the leaders? Well, there's 7.5 minutes to go. There's 7 seconds or so between them. So I think it'll be difficult for Cook to catch the top two. Best lap of the race for Bradley, a 2:03.8, a few tenths out of the lap record at the moment. His lead is a couple of seconds for the first time. But lots of traffic now for the remainder of the race. That could be a factor as Cook and Neves come through just ahead of Brian Branson. Now, is this car in trouble? Number 46, I think might just be going lap down. That's Ken Van Houen, who we saw racing at Anglesey in the Porsches in a 911. Now he's having to go in a BMW in the Cup class this weekend, I think. It's one of those 325s at the very least. So good to see him trying out another 750 Motor Club Championship after racing in the Calm All Porsche Trophy earlier this year.
Gareth Thomas still there in the lead of the Cup class. Had Sergei Meniv right behind him, but we're changing our focus yet again.
Is that Stephen Schreikart?
It is Stephen Schreikart, number 43 there in 12th position overall. He's our Class 6 leader, but he's got cars in other classes around him. Behind him, David Heasman. Ahead of him, David Morris. And indeed, the 48 car of Mike Nash as well. So there is quite a bit of a gap between Stephen Schreikart and second place within Class 6, which is Chris Blakey. Schreikart in 12th, Blakey in 15th position. So quite a gap between the two of them. But they're just coming over the line now. Schreikart in that 6-cylinder class car. He's had a very good season. Within Class 6, he's won 6 races so far. Tom Singleton and Chris Blakey winning the others at Alton Park and at Croft respectively.
So yeah, he's got a lot of cars around him, hasn't he, in all of this. Just ahead of him is David Morris. He's a driver that's been moving up the ranks, isn't he? Because he started off in the Cup class and he raced in Class 6. Now he's in Class M2 in this BMW E46 Compact with a 3-litre engine for David Morris from Hertfordshire, who started off racing in Fun Cup. Tried out other BMW championships, and now racing with the BMW Car Club Racing Organisation. He's got Mike Nash, who's in 10th position, just ahead of him, who was out in the Armed Forces Challenge yesterday. So he's got plenty of experience this weekend. Then at the back of the group is David Heisman, so a number of cars involved. The lead-in pack have gone through for a 7th time. 1.9 seconds separates Niall Bradley and Graham Crowhurst. Paul Cook still third. He's got a gap now over Ollie Neves and Brian Branson. A bit further back in the pack is Craig Emerson, the accountant from Leicestershire. And good to see Craig back out racing again.
Yeah, absolutely. Been racing on and off with the 750 Motor Club for many seasons. Also sometimes helps with the officiating duties as well when called upon. And he is over the line there, just behind the 42 car of Paul Neville, who's a relative newcomer, the car that he built up himself. But there is Emerson, number 75, going through shots in that 3 Series BMW. And just ahead of Paul Neville there is the Mark Burton car as well.
Yes, who is half a minute behind the cars in front, but the best part of half a minute ahead of the cars behind, quite remarkably. Mark Coleman's up to 7th now. He started 10th. He's come through a little bit. He's in an M1 car. As we continue to watch Craig Emerson then, who is running in 24th position. He's having that battle with Paul Neville just ahead of him from Hertfordshire, who is new to racing this year. And 2 slightly different variations of similar aged BMWs.
Yeah, Paul Neville got into this through having done track days, coming into circuit racing, and had a chat with him during the grid walk we had for the BMW Summerfest at Alton Park a couple of months ago. Someone's getting a driving standards flag.
And if we keep with this shot, we see the leaders are much closer to one another. Here they come up across the line now. We just cut to another battle, but the lead gap has come back down with 2 laps to go. It's just 4/10 of a second, and Graham Crowhurst here, we can see them now, is challenging the leader. Noel Bradley into Ritchie's. That gap has been absolutely shrunk over the last 3 miles of the Snetterton circuit. Here Crowhurst looks to the inside. Bradley defends. They've got traffic just ahead of them, so over these final 2 laps, can Graham Crowhurst get himself up ahead of Niall Bradley, who's going to be the first driver to win 5 times this year?
Yeah, they've been evenly matched in terms of victories so far this year. Niall Bradley behind on points because he wasn't at Croft. They've got a back marker to deal with as well, which is the 76 car of Stuart Pywell. And they are almost going to be side by side into Agostini. Looks like the fuel filler cap on the race leading car has managed to pop open. Number 47. That's Niall Bradley, who's got the best lap of the race, a 2:03.84. Not inside the lap record, which is a 2:03.51, but not a million miles off. That was set by Graham Crowhurst last October. Crowhurst continuing to pressure him then as we go into the final lap and a half.
Where can Crowhurst find a way through? How much more traffic is there to deal with? Well, nothing immediately, but perhaps something else before the end. The pair of them 8 seconds ahead of Paul Cook now. They're at second, a lap faster than the rest, and that's why after 8 laps they're 8 seconds ahead. So there's Bradley then ahead of Crowhurst. He's opened the gap during the course of this lap, and yeah, I think they will get some more traffic before the end, so that could be Crowhurst's opportunity. He's just run a little bit wide out over the curbs at that previous bend through Coram. Tricky corner, I should think, in these fast, heavy, powerful cars. Great sounding cars as well, these highly developed 6-cylinder BMW engines from these cars that are probably about 15 years old now or so. Well, Crowhurst has got a bit of damage. There's a bit of trim that has come loose, which is potentially bad news for his livery.
Hopefully that will be fixed without too much damage, but he's just lost a few lengths here, hasn't he, to Niall Bradley. 9/10 of a second behind at the start of this 10th and final lap of the race. They're 9 seconds clear of Paul Cook in 3rd, Ollie Neves 4th and Brian Branson in 5th. Turning their way through Palmer now, onto the straight, the short straight, down to Agostini, and that's the left-hand hairpin named after the motorcycle racing great. And then out of Agostini onto the little squirty straight towards the fast left-hander Hamilton's.
They're going to have one car to lap at least, So is that going to come at a helpful time for the race leader Bradley here, who turns through the right-hander? Part of quite a big racing family. The Bradleys race in the UK and do hill climbing and as well. And yeah, for Niall Bradley, that car of Chris Blakey is going to go down a lap pretty simply. The driver in 16th, the second car in class 6, so no drama for the leader, which will be a sigh of relief, I should think, for Niall Bradley.
Looks like we're going to see a 5-second penalty for Paul Cock, I think. There's a penalty board going out for him. Yes, confirmation of that now on our screen as well. And he's only 2.5 seconds clear of Ollie Neves in 3rd place at the moment. So we're coming into the final few corners of this race now. Towards Coram they go. Crowhurst trying to get back on terms with Niall Bradley. Has closed the gap during the course of this final lap, but I don't think it's close enough to make anything work. Out of Murray's they go. Good exit from Niall Bradley, number 47, in the white and green car, so he is going to make it 5 wins so far this season in the BMW Car Club Racing Championship. Graham Crowhurst finishes a third of a second behind in 2nd place.